Hey y'all. Want to get a quick word in before my son wakes up from his nap. Before I have to carry on with the rest of my day. This is gonna be a quick word. It's gonna be a quick word. Hey y'all. Hey y'all. I'm not gonna be on here. I always say I'm not gonna be on here too long. So let me just stop saying it. I'm gonna get on her real quick. It just kind of gives some insight. I was supposed to do this word. I guess it's like a part two to the first word because I never really got to the initial word on the part two, but God took it to where He wanted it to go. So that's how it had to be. Hey, I got a headache. Ooh, in Jesus' name, we cover your mind. Okay, so God is showing me, Kiki, the reason you got a headache, girl, is a lack of sleep. A lack of sleep. Have you been getting some sleep, girl? I'm seeing like God showing me like you waking up, like getting a lack of sleep. Hey, Miss Shay Shay. And also drink some water, Kiki. God said drink some water and get more sleep. Get more sleep. And I haven't forgot about you, girl. I'm gonna start setting up some coaching calls stuff with everybody starting sometime next week. Sometime next week. Hey, Curl. Curl's been a long time since I seen you on here, girl. Hey, Curl. Hey, Miss Shay Shay. How are y'all doing today? How was y'all day going? I'm trying to get this word in real quick before my son wake up, y'all. Cause once he wake up, he gonna need my attention. How are y'all doing? What's new? I'm actually gonna go ahead and get into the word. Um, okay, I mean I've been drinking water, but I'll drink more. Yes, girl, I'm seeing water, drink water. I'm seeing vitamins. And I'm seeing like a lack of sleep. Oh, I just woke up. Dreams be all over the place. I'm telling you, girl. My last few like, okay. But God has given me some interpretation. I actually have to release a dream. When he releases me to do so, I have to release a dream. So all right, y'all. So let's get into this word. Let's get into this word real quick, okay? All right, yeah. So the word was don't underestimate them. They see you. So a lot of times in the beginning or when you first start like your standing walk and stuff, sometimes it can seem like you and him are not seeing eye to eye. Or there's maybe like a lot of warfare, maybe even witchcraft that's causing like a lot of confusion between the two of you. And or just maybe even spiritual warfare, like a big one can sometimes be Leviathan. And Leviathan, one of the things that it does, it twists up the words, it makes everything confusing, and it distorts communication. So long story short, it might be warfare, maybe like outside stuff like other people, interfering with the relationship, all kind of stuff, right? And it can bring on this frustration, like, man, like, am I really supposed to be with this person? Because there's so much confusion, there's so much warfare, Lord. Like, am I hearing you correctly, God? You even start to think like, hey, am I even hearing God correctly? Because I really want to make sure that I really want to make sure that I'm able to, I really want to make sure that I'm hearing you correctly, God. I want to make sure I got the right person, God. My heart is in this. I'm not trying to have my heart broken. Like, just a whole bunch of other stuff, right? And so a lot of times you can feel like, okay, God, me and him are not seeing eye to eye. Does this person even see me? And now we're coming into a time where not only is he able to truly see you, but you're able to see that he always saw you. A lot of times when we're going through the warfare, we can overlook the small things, the small glimpses of God showing you that this is your person, or God showing you that this person really does see you, that you are not, that you guys are not too far apart from one another, right? Like that, though there may be a separation, though there may not be as much communication as you would like, there's still this connection that's between the two of you. And recently, God started to remind me of like times where my spouse did see me. In fact, and he would say things that was like, wow, like I didn't think that like I underestimated him really. Like I was like, I didn't really think, I always thought that in my mind track, my thought process, like, we're having a hard time kind of understanding each other. And it really blocked me out from truly seeing that, wow, this man really does see me. He would say things. I was like, wow, like that's right on point. Or now as I matured and grown in my walk with this, and I'm able to look back and say, wow, like he was actually seeing me. Like even though in a moment I couldn't see myself, he saw me, and he spoke to the future me. Even though I wasn't able to receive from him in that moment, he spoke to the future me. So now we're coming into a time where your spouse is able to truly see you, despite the gossip, despite the warfare, despite your maybe your own confusion on where you're walking at now, where God is in, and also of course test the word, make sure this word is for you. But God is bringing restoration into these relationships, and He's bringing in an understanding. And I was like, wow, like my spouse really sees me. And like for me, like that warmed my heart. Like that, I was like, wow. I feel like a love language is like truly being seen, especially when you call to the prophetic. And a lot of times when you call to the prophetic path, it can be kind of lonely. So it's like when you do meet people that are kindred spirits that see you and you see them, what it does is it really creates like this sense of safety with them, right? Even like a dream that God gave me a long time ago, that I was sitting down, and my spouse began to serve me. Like I guess I was hungry, and he made me a cup of tea or coffee or something like that, and he handed me like this bowl of soup. And I guess I was kind of sick in this dream, and he was taking care of me. And I was shocked. I was kind of shocked because I wasn't used to that type of consideration, that type of care, right? Like I'm used to serving others. I'm used to doing, like, I'm cooking for you. I'm used to serving plates and doing stuff like that. But in this instance, it was different. And he also in a dream towered over me. Like he was very tall. He towered over me in the dream. So I had this sense of safety. And back then I didn't know how much I would crave safety until I went through everything that I went through these last 4 months. And I was like, man, I crave like being under my spouse and feeling safe and feeling secure when I'm around him. And God is reminding me of that dream again, where I felt like that in the dream. I felt safe with him. I felt covered by him. The only way I can explain it was like Ruth and Boaz. When Ruth went to Boaz's the edge of his bed, and she laid at the threshing floor, and he covered, it said in the word of God that he covered her, basically told her, don't leave, because I don't want nobody to see you leaving my room, and getting the idea that you're some type of what. So I want to make sure I cover you, cover your reputation, cover who you are, cover what you stand for, to make sure that nobody would misunderstand your character or who you are, right? So in that sense, I felt safe, and I felt even in a sense seen by him. 'Cause I was like, wow, like even in the dream, like he's seen, like, okay, I'm gonna serve her too, right? So they're coming into a time where God is where God is allowing you guys to truly see one another, to truly be on one accord, to truly finally for the gears to start moving and things to start clicking, and there to be an understanding of who you are and what you guys are going to be together. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, y'all? I want to make sure that I haven't lost nobody. Are there any questions about this word while I'm going forward with it? Are there any questions? Makes total sense. Okay, good. I want to make sure I didn't lose y'all. I'm also open for questions on this word as well. But we're coming to a time where, like, for instance, like, a lot of times I can be honest, I definitely underestimate his ability to see me. Like, your spouse has gifts, your spouse has discernment. Like, speak those things, not only speak those things over your spouse, but also pay attention. Like, there's a reason why God has called you to be with that person. There's that person, like if you're called to the prophetic, then most likely your spouse has a high percentage of prophetic in them too. They have to, because they have to be able to cover what you carry. Like my spouse, like I realized, like wow, I was like wow, he's prophetic too. Like he dreams dreams. Like I seen like over time as I like kind of observed and just kind of the things that God has shown me about him. I see that wow, he dreams dreams too. Like he's also prophetic. Like he also has visions. Like he also has discernment. Like God is also growing him in his own personal spiritual gifts, whether he recognizes it or not. Like he's growing in those things and he's able to make decisions not just based on logic but also based on spiritually what he's sensing. So a lot of times we can underestimate these spouses just because they're not called to what we're called to, or called to be. Like for instance, like a lot of my, like some of my friends, they describe me as, oh, you're sunshine and rainbows. And I'm just like, well, I don't think I'm sunshine and rainbows. I've been through a lot, so I've just learned how to be optimistic. I've learned to not let the chaos that's going on around me get in me and begin to deter me from my goal or deter me from where I'm going. And a lot of times when you're called to, like, the more spiritual things, it can seem like you're more of a sunshine rainbow person, right? And then you, just Jesus up in the sky, spiritual. Like I'm in the spiritual realm all the time, and it can sometimes feel like my perspective, I can be limited. So he's very, one thing I love about him is that he's open to argue. Not argue, but he's open to challenge my thinking. And I like that. And I don't always agree with him. We're not gonna always agree. We're gonna agree to disagree on some things, but there's something I'm like, wow, okay, that was a good perspective. Like I like that. You taught me something new. I love to learn. Like a lot of my friends, they describe me as like, well, my friend told me this yesterday. She was like, you every time I talk to you, feel like I'm talking to, like I'm in school. And I'm just like, I love to learn. Like I used to spend half my lunch in the library, half my lunch with my friends. So yeah. It makes sense, but I don't think I'm in that season in my life right now. Yeah, like discernment is key. Discernment is key. Even if you don't see the fruit of it, just know that this season, if you're here to hear this word, then eventually this season will come. That means that this season is going to come to you. So just because it's not a right now word for you doesn't mean that it won't work for you eventually. But one thing about the prophetic is that it's not always a right now word. Sometimes the prophetic, you grow into the word, just like this promise. That this promise for a lot of us wasn't a right now word. It was something that we had to grow into. Like even myself, like I had to grow into this promise. I had to mature. I had to understand things. I had to, like when you're young, your frontal lobe isn't. They say your frontal lobe has not developed all the way, right? So as the years went on, my frontal lobe, I guess, continued to develop. your choose frontal lobe, but continue to develop. And now I am what I am now. I was told I'm pessimistic and always seeing the negative side of things. Actually, Kiki, we gonna talk about that during our coaching call. Okay, we gonna talk about that during our coaching call. That's not for here right now. It's not for right now, girl. But we gonna talk about that. We gonna talk about that. Yeah, but a lot of times, we assume that our spouses, we assume that just because their fruit, just because we can't see their fruit, doesn't mean that they're not producing fruit. Like that man, that woman, they have fruit. You're just looking at it from a different perspective. You have to look at it through the perspective of Christ. Christ sees he's the beginning of the end. He sees the beginning of a thing to the end of a thing. I said this before. So he already sees the fruit that's developing. You just can't see it because you're in a different perspective of time. But now that fruit is starting to come in. So the fruit was always there. You just needed to be positioned to see it in the right perspective. If you look at a telescope and you try to let's say, for instance, you try to look at the moon and you have it pointing towards the sun, what do you think you're going to see? You're going to see the sun. You're not going to see the moon. So what do you have to do? You have to reposition the telescope so that you can see the moon. So God had to do a lot of for us, a lot of repositioning, and sometimes the repositioning, it took time because you had to get tall enough to reach the telescope, to grow, to see that perspective. So yeah, so your spouse, he sees you, and I'm learning that too. Like it's a humbling thing. It really is. It's a humbling thing. Like that man really sees you. That woman really sees you. Like you may think that they don't see you. You may think that, man, they don't really know me. They don't really know who I am. I don't feel seen. They do. Don't speak that over your marriage. First off, be careful what you speak over yourself and over your marriage. But that person sees you. Like God really just been like kind of rehearsing in my mind all the times that my spouse has said things. I'm like, wow, like wait a minute, like he really sees me. And for me, it's different because I haven't really experienced that a lot in relationships. Like a lot of times it was always like a huge misunderstanding. I was always in relationships, I'm always have to over explain myself, like, hey, I didn't mean it like that, or hey, no, I really love you. It's just that, I'm gonna tell you this. It's just a lot of times people taking your stuff out of context or using like, just a lot of confusion, and just I just find myself frustrated sometimes. But with my spouse, although we had those moments, we had more. I had more moments with him where he actually saw me, than I've had with the frustrating of him not seeing me. Like he sees me, and I don't feel like I have to over explain because I feel like he understands. Now he might correct me, like, hey, nah, yeah, no. Let's try a different perspective. Let's learn, let's read, let's grow a little bit. And even if I do and I still agree to disagree, he doesn't like try to force his opinion on me or try to make me seem like I'm stupid because, I can see that by some things he used to say. Absolutely. And hey, Mia, what's up, girl? Yeah, your spouse can see you and you'll be surprised. You'll be so surprised by these spouses. Don't underestimate them. Don't underestimate them to see. Don't underestimate their ear to hear God. Like just like God speaks to you in your own personal unique way, he speaks to them in their own personal unique way. And you don't always have to check like, oh, is they see? Like no, like God is already on it. Like you don't even have to do all the extra stuff. Even if he is dating somebody else or there's like the quote unquote the counterfeit, like your spouse still sees you. And the reason I know is because I was dating other people that were quote unquote counterfeits, right? And I still saw my spouse. I could still see him. I still could understand him in a language that I don't know. I can't explain it. It's almost like you and your spouse have your own personal language. Even in dreams that I've had where me and him were sitting down talking to one another and just enjoying each other's presence in dreams, like God showed me like we were gonna be really close. Like we're not gonna always agree on things, but like I seen that me and him are gonna be really close and that he had really good eye contact. Like when I was talking to him in the dreams, like he had really good eye contact. And it wasn't like in a sense of like he was sexualizing me, but like more so like of he paid attention. He was very observant of me. like looking back on those dreams, looking back on even our interactions with one another, like he always was very observant. Like he was always very observant, very observant. I remember even it's not many people that can make me fold, but he always made me fold, y'all. I remember that. Never mind. It was a good memory though, but yeah. So don't underestimate the spouse's ability to see you. This is a word to encourage you. And also to encourage you to start looking over the different instances of that God has shown you in your own personal walk, that God has revealed to you in your own personal walk, this person and this person seeing you. Because I didn't realize it. Like God literally was just like rehearsing all the times that this guy has said something. I'm like, wow, like God, I never really paid attention to these things, but now I see them. And now I'm more appreciative of him as a man and of God for showing me that. And I'm appreciative for growth and for changing and just for being able to see all the times that he did see me. And it made me regret all the time. I was like, well, I don't think we're seeing eye to eye. And I was like, you know what? No, we're seeing eye to eye. We are. And even though we don't have, even though we may not have the same perspective, like that doesn't mean that he can't see you. You don't have to have the same perspective to mean to be seen. Look at the perfect example. This is Jesus. Look at us. We were lovers of sin and he was holy. And yet, even in our love for our sin and him and his love for holiness, he still saw us. Yeah, we were